Today is going to be a bit of a different video, and that is because I'm going to be talking a little bit about movies. Specifically, my top 10 movies of all time. I've wanted to do this video for a while. I wanted to do this type of style of video where I sit down and talk about a topic that I'm interested in. And for those who know me, you'll know that I love movies. I am obsessed with them. I've been watching movies all my life. Since starting YouTube, I started to become more interested in the technical side of things as well. Like how they're made, what the actors and even the directors get into when preparing for films. So I've taken a massive interest in learning how films were made and kind of reading more into them. And so today I just want to talk about some of my favourite movies. So I'm going to start with my number 10 pick, and that is Coach Carter. This is a film that I watched a long time ago, and possibly the first movie I've watched out of like the 10 that I picked. It was a struggle between this and a couple of other ones, but I threw this in purely because I think it's very different to the ones that I have higher up on this list. Tenet is one that I absolutely adore and really did want to find a place to talk about in this list, but I think for me, Coach Carter is something that resonated with me on a more personal level, whereas Tenet is something that is incredibly interesting and I loved watching it and I loved the deeper meanings behind it, but Coach Carter is completely different to that. Like you're witnessing a real life story, and I'm very certain it is based on a real life story. To see such a beautiful story of someone who just wants to make a difference and just push back their boundaries, because numerous times in the film he's been told he's a basketball coach. He's not meant to like be taking on this type of responsibility to get these kids to college. But he's taking it upon himself to do that because no one else will. Doesn't obey the laws really. You know, he never really wants to do things by the book. He kind of has his methods and sticks to them. And some of the things said in this film as well really stuck with me, because the effects he had on his students or on his team, it definitely had a lasting effect on me, and the characters as well. The characters are brilliant. Like obviously Samuel L. Jackson puts in an amazing performance. But Cruz and Lyle and Worm, like they're all funny characters. They're all enjoyable to watch. They're entertaining, and like the relationships between them, they're not just like friends or they're not just teammates. They're like brothers who grow closer. They may come from the same place and they may go to the same school, but not all of them have the same upbringing. You know, Junior lost his brother, Cruz lost his friend because he was still involved in gangs. But yeah, I love this film, and instantly when I watched it, I was like, yeah, this is way different from, dare I say, coming of age stories. The next one on my list, I've got Seven. I love murder mystery films. I really, really, really love this one. It was just different from what I had watched previously, because I'd watched a couple and they were all super entertaining, and they all kind of left you on the edge of your seat wanting to find out what happened. But Seven was different because Seven drew me in from the start. And I think just the topic and what made the killer so different is kind of what drew me to it. Because if you break it down, it's just a regular, you know, serial killer story. Detective trying to find killer, but it's not that. It's almost like from John Doe's perspective, the story is already written, but it's just his job to fill in the blanks and kind of make the story happen and kind of almost prophesize it in a way. The twist as well was so good. I mean, it was so good. I've heard of the quote, "What's in the box," but I never knew the context of it. But oh my god, I mean, you just didn't expect it. Even the moments leading up to that, I was literally in my head, I can remember watching for the first time, thinking that, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, you've got the 5 victims. Where 6 and 7? So coming up towards the end, I'm thinking, how is it going to end? And I was literally just waiting to figure out how, and to have it end the way it did. It was easily my favorite murder mystery film, and I loved the characters in it. I loved Brad Pitt in it. I loved Morgan Freeman in it, and it was just enjoyable. You know, it's nothing overly complicated. It's nothing boring either. So it's just so easy to watch, and such like a great story. Unfortunately, it is one of those films where like, if you watch once, you know what happened, so it's not going to be a shock to you. Still though, amazing film. The next one, which is where I start to want to talk more and more about why I like these films so much, as the next one is Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. It was such a close pick between this and Across the Spider-Verse. I think they're on par with each other. They're definitely two of my favorite animated movies ever, but I'm just giving it to Into the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse is incredible. I loved loved that film. After seeing the first one, I wanted more, and I got more, and it just exceeded my expectations. It was so funny, it was so well done. But I'm giving it to Into the Spider-Verse because for what it was at the time, it was such a uniquely made film. Not only for the story, because we hadn't gotten a fully fledged Miles Morales movie from Marvel in recent years. I definitely wasn't aware fully of Miles Morales' story. I never really read the comics for Marvel or for DC for that matter, but I wasn't really updated with who Miles Morales was or how he related to the story. But it completely blew me away in what animation could be, because I was so used to the three different live action Spider-Men. So to have an animated Spider-Man in such a unique way and such a different way as well. The animation style is so unique, and I didn't really understand why they did it at one point. And then you sit down to watch it and you're just amazed by what you're looking at. Because not only the animation that looks good, it visually it's stunning. And one thing for me in movies, and I'll talk about more in movies further up this list, but cinematography and visuals for me is one of the most important film aspects. Because like for me, if it looks good, chances are I'm gonna watch it, and if it's really good, I'm gonna think it's really good. And the animation style just only added to what the visuals became. The music as well is so good in both movies for that matter. There's so many songs on both soundtracks that I still listen to this day, but the music just adds to it so much, and it gives so much depth to the characters. And it's fun as well. It's so enjoyable. It's so funny. The scene where he's jumping across the buildings for the first time, like practicing after he'd just been bitten by the spider, going down the stairs, just like the cut of the music is just perfect. Like the comedic value of this film, and both of the films to be fair, are just so underrated. And the leap of faith scene in the first one, I mean, honestly, it's easily one of my favorite scenes I've ever watched. I think for the impact it has on the movie, the significance in the story, combined with the visuals and the music, and like it's just so good. It's like I'm so hyped for Beyond the Spider-Verse. The fact that it's been delayed a couple times isn't ideal, but I think I would rather give it more time and let them perfect it than mess it up and just kind of take away from what already is the Spider-Verse franchise. Because in my opinion, if the third one is anywhere near the previous two, or even exceeding the previous two, for me, it is the best animated trilogy of all time. And arguably the best superhero trilogy of all time. That's my opinion. For me, the first two push the boundaries of animation and set the bar so high for the third one that if it's anywhere good or better, it takes number one spot for me. So Marvel, it's up to you. Do not mess this up, please. Number 7 spot goes to The Shawshank Redemption. Ever since I can remember, there's 3 films my dad has always recommended me: Schindler's List, $1 Million Baby, and The Shawshank Redemption. I have since watched all 3. I put this movie off for so long, for a reason I will never be able to fully explain, because I don't know why I did it. It was easily one of the greatest stories I've ever watched. Heartwarming, heartbreaking. There's twists in there that keep you entertained. The interactions between the characters themselves, you want them to succeed, you want them to be free. Seeing the end of some stories, like Brooks in the apartment, it's soul destroying. And seeing how it's not only a breakdown in morals in some of the other characters who are new to the prison, it's what a lasting effect of being in prison for so long has on a man when he's released. Because he didn't want to leave. He did not want to leave at all. And the thought and the effort of trying to adjust to civilized life, it's too overwhelming for him to the point where he takes his own life. I mean, seeing an already redeemable character just wither away, it was so heartbreaking. Getting that satisfaction that you wanted from the beginning of seeing both Andy and Red leave and live. Even though you're seeing them on the outside together for a small part, at the end, you're still just relieved and just feels like a weight lifted off your shoulder and just like, finally. Shawshank is one film that I would always recommend to anyone. I think out of the films I have here today, Shawshank I think is one that appeals to the most amount of people. You know, obviously Spider-Verse is animated as a superhero. Sci-fi and action movies don't always appeal to people, which is what I love. But Shawshank is just, it's beyond a certain topic or a certain genre. You just have to watch it and just enjoy it. The next film I want to talk about, number 6, is Training Day. One thing that I would never be able to shut up about Training Day is the performances, and both Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke give generational performances. I think for me personally, Denzel's performance in this movie is my favorite performance in cinema. I think he gives such an amazing performance and gives such an incredible character who you don't really know if you're rooting for. You know, you're suspicious of him, you're kind of rooting for him, you like him but you don't. He's extreme but he's somewhat sympathetic. You want Jake to do better, but you also can sympathize with him because of what his intentions are. I definitely picked up a lot more on my second watch. I watched it again recently, and you definitely understand Alonzo's motives more. You've got someone who's going against everything the badge he's wearing stands for. Super interesting to see how Jake goes about that. You're with him, you're thinking, what the hell is this? This isn't what being a cop means. And the story is so good as well, because the relationship Alonzo has with a lot of the other characters that are just kind of passers-by. Alonzo thinks because he's wearing a badge, he can just do whatever he wants. He can go in and search for whatever he wants, no matter what his intentions are. And he thinks he's safe from that, but even when he meets with the other cops, everyone else knows that he is in danger, yet he can already see the light at the end of the tunnel. He thinks he's just going to get there easily because he's got the badge on his chest, and it's not the case. Now, kicking off the top 5, the next movie I have is Sinners. The most recent entry I have on this list. As soon as I saw it, I was thinking that, yeah, this is one of the best films I've ever watched. For many reasons, one of which being the fact that it's the only film I've seen in the cinema more than once. Because there's a lot of films I've seen in the cinema and I did want to watch again, but not more than this. I've never been so creatively inspired by a film. Now you're probably thinking, what the hell does that mean? I came out of this movie and was just so inspired by the feeling that it gave me. The aspects of this film, the music, the cinematography, the characters, they all combined and just worked so well. And it gave me a feeling of wanting to just create something like that. That gave me that feeling of just amazement, of just, oh my god, this is just incredible. The feeling of amazement is something that I want to replicate in just anything I do. That's why I started YouTube. I always wanted to do YouTube and, you know, make movies for various reasons. Different YouTubers play games. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. Then getting into the technical side of it and realizing that that was interesting, but the overall feeling of wanting to do YouTube and later wanting to make films and short films and hopefully in the future big feature films is that giving people a sense of amazement is something that I've always wanted to replicate. And I've always wanted to do that for people, but for movies, it's kind of creating a feeling of inspiration. And if I could take what I felt from Sinners and just fuse it into anything that I make, even if it's like a tenth of what I felt in Sinners, and if I can give that to other people, my job is done. Because that's what I want to do. The music in this film is probably my favorite score I've ever seen. It is so catchy, it's so interesting, and like it just relates to some of the characters. Some of the characters' themes are just perfect. The writing is brilliant, and the characters, I mean, Michael B. Jordan puts in, for me, an all-time performance, because giving two characters who are similar but so different in so many ways, so much depth. Like, I was speechless after it. I couldn't describe how I felt watching this film. I want to see him get an Oscar for this. I really, at least a nomination. Like, if he gets a nomination, fair enough, because I think he's well within his right to at least get a nomination. I think at the moment for this year he should win it. I haven't watched every single film that came out this year, so I could be wrong in saying that he deserves it over someone else, but I think he's well within his right to win it. I think Ludwig Göransson should 100% win it for score. There are small issues I have with it. What I've always been able to do was kind of rationalize it. I thought, especially my first time watching it, that the start of it was kind of slow and kind of the build up to the action wasn't as fast and was kind of dragging on a bit, but you're still seeing characters with great relationships and great interactions that you're not bored. I definitely felt it started to drag on, and like there wasn't any like big action sequences or anything like that. I didn't really expect action sequences, but I kind of wasn't super entertained. But because of the dialogue and because of the writing, you're still seeing great interactions between different characters. I thought the end battle was kind of cliche in a way, because it was kind of like, okay, we're dealing with vampires. What's the most stereotypical way to deal with vampires? Silver, garlic, and wooden stakes. I kind of thought that was a small bit lazy in a way, but I guess the way you can kind of rationalize that is it's the character's first time with dealing with anything this type of weird. It's something only Annie is familiar with, so you can kind of say that it was their first time experiencing with. I don't know how to rationalize that one, but like that doesn't take away from it in any sense. I could talk about this movie forever, and hopefully it just gets the respect it deserves. The next one I have is Heat. I think this is my favorite crime movie because it's so much more than just, you know, a heist movie or a crime thriller, because you've got two characters who are going head to head and going to the absolute extreme of either side of the law. You've got two characters who are equally as like relentless and obsessive, showing their obsession in different ways. You know, Hannah is always getting irritated, or, you know, if something doesn't go his way, he gets aggravated, he gets angry, he takes it out on people, he's shouting, he's roaring. Macaulay's always cool. He's collected, he knows every move that's going to be made, and the entire time it's 4D chess. They're always trying to outsmart each other. You know, one of them thinks that they're ahead of the other, and then all of a sudden they've matched it. They always try and get one step ahead of each other, and for the most part it's Macaulay that's doing that and succeeding. And by the end, Hannah finds a way to match that because, you know, he's aware of where they're going and kind of plays one of the last moves by finding him at the airport and getting that tip that he's at the airport, and eventually ends up basically playing checkmate because Macaulay can't go anywhere, he can't leave. It's a cat and mouse chase where neither one of them are able to be disliked in a way, and they end up respecting each other by the end. And one point of this film where you can see that is the diner scene. It is easily the best scene I've ever watched, because like I said, it's 4D chess. They're sizing up each other for the first time. They're talking about different things, you know, they're trying to make it civil while also trying to size each other up based on trying to find out their intentions, their motives, who they actually are as a person. And a quote that Tom Hiddleston said one time is that it's the most beautiful game of tennis. You know, it's a perfect balance between the two of them going back and forth, calculating their every move and just articulating what they want to do so perfectly. They're careful in what they say, they're careful on why they say it, not to give away too much, not to give any hints. And I just think it's so intricate and so like interesting. It's amazing. Number 3, third favorite movie of all time is Oppenheimer. Christopher Nolan is my favorite director of all time, without question. Oppenheimer for me is one of the most interesting stories I've ever watched, because not only is it interesting to see the story of who Oppenheimer was, but also how he was displayed and how he was shown, because the way it was shown was from two different perspectives. In the color sequences, we're seeing a representation, more or less, of what Oppenheimer is, and kind of seeing it from his perspective and essentially how he remembers things. Whereas in the black and white, you're seeing it from the outside perspective, from Louis Strauss's perspective. Am I saying that right? Louis Strauss? You're more so seeing it for what it actually is. Again, similar with Heat, it's so intricate and so like challenging, because you're rooting for a guy who's strange and egotistical in a way and kind of not overly likable, but how he is with what he has to do and the responsibility he has is something that I found very interesting. And Cillian Murphy does so well in this movie. Honestly, I've talked about, you know, performances from different actors in this video. Cillian Murphy gives such a good performance in this movie. You know, he's cold, doesn't give a whole pile of emotion, yet he does at the same time. You can tell how different Oppenheimer is to everyone in the world, or even the people around him, purely based on how Cillian Murphy portrays him. I think some of the quotes from this movie as well, like the dialogue is amazing, like I have become death, like it's so good. And the first time watching it, hearing him say it with, I can't remember her name, but Florence Pugh's character in the movie, when he said it for the first time, I thought that's how it says, but then obviously the Trinity testing, he said it again, and it's so perfectly timed. It's such a vital element to such a turning point in the film. The visuals as well. Again, like I said, visuals are for me one of the most important things in film, probably the most important thing. And this film is just a visual masterpiece. Mostly, if not entirely practical. I mean, it's incredible. It's such a beautifully told story. I will always have a slight sour taste in my mouth because I was meant to see this film in cinemas with my friend and he went without me. So I won't out who he... You know what, screw it. Yeah, fuck you, Rob. I was meant to see this film with you and you went without me. The penultimate film on this list, number 2, I have Good Will Hunting. I'm gonna get this out the way before I say anything else. I sobbed multiple times. I cried towards the end, at the end, after the end. Possibly one of the most emotionally personal film you could ever watch. It hits so close to home. Obviously, I'm no like genius mathematician who can solve any equation just by looking at it. But like you can just sense that he's scared. You know, he's scared to do anything with it. You know, he's been beaten into this corner for his whole life, and the fact that everyone around him is telling him that you can do more with what you're doing. It's sad to see him reject it. He's so misunderstood, and he misunderstands the way people want him to succeed or how people view him because he's traumatized. He's like completely overwhelmed by trauma and he's trying to be healed. He's trying to heal himself. He's trying to break down those walls that he's had up for so long and that have prevented him from accepting who he is and accepting new relationships and making bonds that everyone in their lives want. And just the performances all around, especially from Robin Williams, like, oh my god. I mean, I get sad every time I talk about this movie because knowing Robin Williams is no longer with us. I mean, he's a talent that no one can replicate. He also plays a broken character, and by the end somewhat finds peace that Will's gone off by himself and has found love. He's playing someone that has his trauma and has his vulnerability and ultimately finds a reason to do good because he doesn't really want to help Will at the start, but by the end it's just similar with Shawshank. It's just relief, and you're just thinking, yes, he's done something. He's like fulfilled what he's meant to do, because even his friends are saying, best part of my day, going to your door and expecting you not to be there. By the end he does it. So to see him finally do that was a relief in a way, and I love this movie so much. But one film that, in my opinion, may never be topped is the film that actually you can see I have a poster for on my wall. Inception. This is by far and away my favourite film of all time. I don't see a single thing wrong with this movie. Once again, this man is an absolute genius. Because I'm just fully convinced that I will never be able to find a better film than this. I hope I've said that right. But yeah, I just think this film is just... it's perfect in every way. I walked away from this film with my jaw on the floor more so than I've ever had before. The originality of the concept is something that I was absolutely blown away from the very start. Learning about what this film was about was enough to get me hooked. I made a list of classic movies that I've never watched, and I made it with a friend, the same friend that I was meant to see Oppenheimer with, Rob. We sat down and we made a list of the films that he had seen that I haven't, and Inception was always something that I said to him that I really want to watch. I've heard it's really good, so much so that I didn't even put it on the list. I just knew that I was going to watch it eventually. The story just pulled me in from the start. I didn't even need to watch it to be curious. Like, hearing that it was an original script as well that took him years to make is something that I just found extraordinary, because I just think, how do you come up with this? I watched it and I was thinking, just how do you see this entire thing from your mind? It's got so many layers to it. It's got so many different meanings and, you know, themes and different ways it can be interpreted. The music is perfect from it. Time is almost like this kind of polyphony piece that kind of adds to the complexity of the film and just delivers such a bold and like orchestral piece that just adds so much to the film. The visuals, oh my god. I could talk all day about the cinematography of this film. You know, the practical elements. You see the behind the scenes stuff of them literally being turned around in like a tunnel, constantly making the hallway scenes. It's just so remarkable, and it's like, I can't describe how much I love this film, because it blows me away every time I think about it. It's entertaining, like the characters are so good, like especially Cobb and Eames. I love Eames' quote when they're in the first layer of the dream state. And it's entertaining as well, because you're getting that good bit of action, you're getting the good bit of sci-fi elements, but you're also seeing characters that are flawed and that they're not perfect and that they have their own personal reactions to such an incredible feat and such an incredible discovery. Cobb just kind of takes it as his everyday job, whereas Ariadne is just perplexed by the sheer physical possibility of it. Arthur is cautious of how things can be messed up and how dangerous it is. And the audience's interpretation of it, because, and like, the ending is up for interpretation. I still am not fully on one side. I watched it for the first time and thinking, oh, the spinning top is stopping. Yeah, of course it is. I watched it for the second time. Oh wait, it's not stopping. So I think that kind of interpretation is, first off, why I love this film, and second, why I love Christopher Nolan, because he doesn't always give straightforward answers. And like, I've even got like a small spinning top that I've been spinning around in my hand for most of this video. I could go on for hours about Inception, to be honest. The only film to actually come close to this was probably Sinners, because the way I thought about Sinners after watching it for the first time, I genuinely thought that it's instantly one of my favorite movies of all time. But isn't my favourite, because I just thought the feeling after watching Sinners was the only thing to come close to my feelings and thought after Inception. But no, for me, Inception will just stand the test of time, and I adore it. One of my biggest bucket list things will forever be to talk to Christopher Nolan personally about it. Obviously it sounds cringe and very far-fetched, but if I can get that man to just talk about Inception, I would listen for hours. Like, I genuinely would. There we have it. My top 10 movies of all time. If you can't tell, I am a massive film nerd. Honestly, I've come to accept it. I've come to accept that that's part of who I am. I could not care less. I want to hear what other people's top 10s are, because I'm always talking to my friends, and for the most part my family as well, about films that I like. I've tried multiple times to start conversations about Inception and even Tenet, for example. I know I didn't include it in this list, but for me, sci-fi is probably my favorite genre, and obviously Inception is something that I constantly want to talk about. And people's thoughts about my favorite movies and how they interpret those and how they interpret their favorites. I'm constantly wanting to talk about movies to different people, because everyone has their different perceptions of what makes a film good, what makes a film bad, what makes things that you think are good or bad, or what they think something bad is in their opinion good. So let me know what movies you like. Let me know what you think of these movies that I have picked. If you have made it to the end of this video, I have a lot of respect for you for sitting there and watching me ramble on for God knows how long about movies. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all later.